We're going to give her a little snack. So Gaia tends to like romaine lettuce. It doesn't have any calories in it. It's mostly just water. So that's why we're fine to feed her this during her shows. And it also helps her to stay sort of still so she's not jumping off the table. So, one sort of interesting fact about Gaia specifically, if I leave her here with no snack and put her on the ground, she can identify the doors and she's going to try to walk right out the doors. So she needs her snacks or else she's not really going to want to come here and perform as much. So, for our red-footed tortoises, like I said, they are reptiles, and all of our reptiles are going to shed their skin in some way, shape, or form. So, with our tortoises and our turtles like her, what they're going to shed is maybe these nice little scales on her feet and legs here and her arms, but what's mostly going to shed is actually her shell. So you can see she has all these lines in between her shells here, in between her scoots, these plates. And these valleys, they're going to sort of flake off every once in a while, and that's how she can grow her shell larger and larger as she gets older and older. When our tortoises and turtles are inside their eggs, they actually secrete their shell. It comes out of their skin and hardens around them. So when they are hatching out of their eggs, they have a nice fully formed shell ready to protect them from anything in the wild. But like I said, that shell has to grow. It needs to get bigger and bigger. So she has to shed off those small parts to be able to grow it as she ages. There is a bit of a difference, though, between our tortoises like her and our turtles. Think maybe our aquatic turtles, like our yellow-bellied sliders, Peruvian twist necks, diamondback terrapin, snapping turtles. They're all a little different than our tortoises. So what our tortoises are going to do is they're going to be land-based. They can't really go into the water, and they can't really swim at all. So that means if they jump in the water, they're just going to sink right to the bottom. But our turtles, they've got webbed hands and feet, and that allows them to swim through the water very easily. And our turtles, they also have relatively flat shells to help them cut through the water a little easier. Our tortoises, on the other hand, they have nice domed shells. They can go up quite high, and that allows them to pull themselves inside completely and be able to hide from any predators or dangerous things on the outside. So Gaia here, her head is able to go all the way back to about right here, and she can push her two front legs in front of her head to protect that spot, which is the most vulnerable part of her body. Her scales on the front of her legs here are a little bit more tough. They're a little bit harder than the ones on the back of her leg, and that's to help protect her head just a little bit better, just a little bit more. Our tortoises, they also have relatively dull claws. Those dull claws help them to dig down in the ground. They can make small burrows to be able to hide in or hibernate in for up to about 7 months at a time. So that's going to help them during the cold months or maybe even the drier months as well. For our red-footed tortoises, we have 5 of them here. We've got Gaia, 2 that she lives with, and if you saw our monkeys, our red-handed tamarins, we have 2 that live in there as well. And those guys in there, or at least I should say all of our red-footed tortoises, you can look at all of them, and how you're able to identify them is these nice little red dots on their hands and feet, but also these yellow dots on their back, on their shells. And our redfoots, they have very special shells. So when you're looking at them, you can see that she has these nice rings. On each of her scoots, she's got all of these rings that go from the base all the way to the middle. And you can count those rings, and that'll tell you how old she is, sort of roughly. So with Gaia, she's somewhere around 25 or 26 years old, something around there. You can count her rings up. And our redfoots in the wild, they can live up to 50 years old in the wild in South America. I forgot to mention they're from South America. And when they're in captivity, they can even live up to about 80 years old. So they can live quite a very long time, especially in those sort of more temperate forests, possibly even rainforests if they like to go in there, of South America. These guys are omnivores, so that means they're going to be eating things like grasses, vegetables, fruits, but they can also eat things like bugs and dead things on the ground. So maybe dead birds, dead reptiles, dead mammals, stuff like that. They're going to be able to eat those things as well. If they can catch anything like small mice or very, very small bugs, then they can probably eat them as well also. With our tortoises, one other way, or at least for our redfoots, one last way that you're able to identify them is actually by looking underneath. A lot of our redfoots, they've got concave bellies. Those concave bellies are pretty much unique to just these guys. And usually the males are a little bit more concave than the females are. And she is a fully adult female. She's not really going to grow any bigger than this as she is right now. So this is her maximum size. And usually the males and females, they're around the same size at maximum than most of our other reptiles. So, that's about everything. Do you guys have any questions about Gaia here?
Good question.
If not, I'm going to have you guys in the public, if you would like to come up here and pet Gaia first.